Hello, today I'm going to have a go at making a top out of the Lutterloh supplement number 293. This is using a system that was gifted to me by my mother it's a 1975 version. But I'm going to use this supplement 293, and this is the simple, hopefully, top I'm going to make. It looks like the back and obviously two front pieces with a button placket. You can make it in a knit, which really attracts me to it. If we just look at the back, it's basically two pieces and some kind of button placket going on there, and obviously some bits of facing as well. So I'm going to have a go at making that. And I've got a piece of knit fabric. It's a viscose knit fabric here that I had left over from a project for my daughter. So I'm not too worried about what happens to it. So I'm going to draw it out and show you how I'm doing that, and also hopefully make it up. Let's see how I get on. I've taken photocopies of the original pattern. It's because I don't want to spoil it with the pin marks. But what I've also done is I'm going to use my upper bust measurement, my full bust, and also my hip. So I've colour coded it. So the ones I use the upper bust measurement I'll do in yellow down to about that point. Then I use the proper bust measurement, and then anything below the waist is the hip measurement. So I've kind of colour coded those to remind me as I'm drawing it out. I'm going to use this sheet of paper here, and I'm hoping I'm going to be able to get the two designs just on this one piece of paper. But what I'll do is I'll do a rough estimate first and draw it out to make sure I've got enough paper around to draw it. I've worked out that if I put my piece here, I've got enough to the end of this paper. I've stuck it down with some tape, and I've also put some tape over the cross, so that's not going to damage it when I put the pin in. So I've measured and checked to make sure I can fit it on. And now I'm going to start doing it. And I think I'll do the hip measurements first. So that's the bottom marks. So I'll put the pin into the corresponding mark, which was 94. These new lines, the new tapes are much easier than these. These have got the lines but no dot, whereas now they're much easier. This is a much older version. I'm just going to show you a first couple of them. So I'm going to do my hip measurements first. I've put the pin into the centre, as you can see there, of the cross. I am using like an old table saver, dining room table saver, so I can really stick the pin in, but I'm still going to keep my finger on it so it doesn't move. But I'm going to get one pen here, felt pen, and I'll do my first line. So I line the tape measure up with the number here, which is 38, and I'm going to keep this straight so it doesn't bend, come all the way down to 38 and mark it. Next one here, it's 35.5. I think this is just in your vision. So as you can see, I'm keeping that straight, keeping that on the line. 35.5, so there's 35, so 35.5 is going to be there. And the last one on the bottom using the hip measurements, this is going to be 37. So yeah, making sure it's all straight. 37, put a nice round up there. So that's my first three. Now I'm going to go on and carry on and do all of them. I've changed the pin to my bust measurement to do the next one down, and that's 20. Then I've got one more I'm going to use the bust measurement for, and that says 13. So I'll put a dot on 13. I'm going to have to move the pin again for my upper bust measurement. So I've done my 12 dots, I have checked them, now I've got some dots that I've got to join together, and I'm going to use a variety of things. I've got some French curves here, I've also got my long wooden rule, so I can do a straight bit, which is along this bit here, and hopefully I'll do it in a pen that you can see. Right, hope you can see that. That is one of the tops. So I'm going to label that B. This dotted line, so that means cut on fold. So I'm going to do the old fold arrows and write it on there in case I forget. That's it, I think. That's no other markings. We have got the facing, which we've got to sort out. And they're saying 2 centimetres down from here, marker facing. I'm probably going to do mine deeper than that. What I've got to do, of course, is this does not have a seam allowance. So now I'm going to go in and add a seam allowance around the side. Obviously not on the fold marking, but round at the top. Then kind of mark out a facing. So these rules I got from Stitch Buzz, I think, and they're 1.5 centimetres. So I'm going to go around the outlines with this and draw around because that's going to add my seam allowance in for me. I've added the seam allowance in, as you can see here. And here I decided to go for 5 centimetres down. So obviously got a seam allowance there. I'm going for 5 centimetres facing because I can always trim it off. But what I don't want is a tiny annoying little bit of facing. So that is the back done. I've now drawn out the front. As you can see, this is a shaded area for the facing. So I've done that, made it bigger again, 5 centimetres. And this is also, it's got I think it's a self-facing, so I think it folds back. I've given it a good 5 centimetres again. Now that's going to be something that I will have to work out while I'm actually making it on how big to fold that back by. But yeah, I don't seem to have any bit here where perhaps the sleeve ends and the side begins. It's a very smooth line as it is on the pattern, so I might just mark that one there as being the sleeve end. But so that is my 2 bits drawn out. I'm going to cut them out now and then cut out the fabric. One thing I do before I cut out my fabric is just make sure any corresponding seams match. And I'm just making sure they're not too bad. Those side seams aren't too bad. Just a little bit out in the bottom, but that could be where I drew the seam allowance. And then, of course, we've got the shoulder seams. Yes, dead on. So I know those shoulder seams are going to match. That makes me very happy. If you remember those facings I drew when I marked out the 5 centimetres all around and shaded it, what I've done now to create the facings, as I've cut that pattern as it is, I've then cut off this facing piece and I've recut another piece of fabric, and the same for the neckline here. So I cut it out on the main fabric like that. I've then taken it off and cut that extra bit on the fold as before to create the facing pieces. If I wanted to make this again, I could easily stick that back on. But that's how I think I'm going to do the facings when I get round to it. So what we have here is the 2 fronts, the back cut on the fold, and I've got my 3 facing pieces. So you can see I've got the neck piece and the front placket. So I'm hoping that's the right kind of shape, and obviously the other back neck bit. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to match up the shoulder seams and sew those. I will stabilise those with some tape as well. And then I'm going to baste these neck facing pieces on and see kind of the look I get. Maybe put it on and see what I get. I actually use this tape that I've got on a huge roll. It's very lightweight. It is flexible. It's Vileseline. I can never remember how you say that, but I use this for all my t-shirts. It's just iron on, it's very lightweight and it does stretch. So right now I've joined these shoulder seams, and as you can see I've putting the facing on right sides together, pinning all the way around. I have neatened the edge, so the idea is hopefully I will be able to flip it to the inside. That is my plan and I'm hoping it'll work. I have, as you can see, put the facing on, and I haven't trimmed the inside yet, but I have understitched the facing all the way along the line, trimmed the corners so they're a bit more pointy. The neck facing is going to have to be secured at the shoulders because, as with all facings, it's going to pop out. So we're going to have to secure that down somehow, even if perhaps I just run a line of top stitching around the back. The front you notice if it pops out, but not the back. So I've also joined the side seams together. Well, you can't see that, but I have done. I gave it a quick try on to see what it would look like, and all in all, I'm quite pleased with it. So the next stage now is to put some buttonholes on. Now, I don't think I will actually need working buttonholes at all, but I'm gonna do them anyway. And then I've got to sort out the hem. It's too long for me at the moment, so I'm going to have to chop 2 inches off and then hem it. And I will hem it the way where you fold back the facing, trim a bit there, and then you'll flip it in. Up that way, I'll do it that method. Hem that, and main thing is I've got to do something with these sleeves because at the moment they're raw. So probably just turn them under or make some bias binding or something. So I know it's very difficult to see because of the pattern, but that might give you an idea. But it's definitely on its way. So this is the neckline here. This is the hem. So I turned up the inside, and as you can see, I've got a nice corner here, and I've just turned up the hem by about 5 millimeters, and then again 1.5 centimeters just to make that. That was after I chopped off about 1.5 inches off the bottom all the way around. Now I need to do the buttonholes, and I have this nifty little thing here, which is a buttonhole marker, which is incredible. So obviously I'm going to want one at the top, and then I decide how many I want. I mean, obviously that is way too many buttons, but maybe that, or maybe that there, I should say, giving it a decent bit at the bottom, or you could choose exactly what you want. So I'd have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 buttons is probably enough. So I'm going to mark these, make the buttonholes. Here we have the finished garment. Obviously I'll try it on for you in a minute. I haven't really got any suitable buttons, so for now, these are the size of buttons I will want, but for now I've just popped them on, and I have done working buttonholes, believe it or not. I've done a narrow hem for the sides. That's the fun about Lutterloh. You do the seams your way, and I decided that just a narrow hem will probably be the best thing. If you can see, I've actually top stitched down about 1 centimetre away. I've top stitched that facing just on the back, not on the front, because you can keep an eye on that. But I've top stitched that down, done the hem. I'm really, really pleased with it. It's not the ideal fabric for it, but it's definitely been a good tester, and I really like this pattern. I think it's made a very different kind of t-shirt, but obviously I'll try it on for you and you can see what you think. So here we have the finished top, and I'm going to put a bit of filming of me modelling it. I am really, really pleased with it. I would definitely make this again. It's hard to say whether the fitting is right because it was such a floppy viscose jersey, very lightweight, but it does fit me well. Obviously the test would be if I used something a bit like a cotton jersey instead, but I absolutely love this. Even though the colours aren't perfect for me, I think as I'm wearing it with a kind of a white pair of trousers, it does work. I just really would like to change the buttons, which I will do when I have time. I will pop and try and get this darker colour button. But for the time being, I think it looks quite cute. I am glad I did the bigger interfacing because what it means is if I do undo the front, it's quite a bit of a gap before we get to the white underside. So if that was open, you do see the right side of the fabric there from the facing. So I'm really glad I did that. Yeah, what do you think? Now, I have said many times I am no way an expert on Lutterloh system. It was a system that my mum gifted me a few years ago, so I'm very much a beginner with it. I have sewn all my life, but the thing with Lutterloh is you don't get instructions, you are on your own. The best thing to do is buy yourself a big sewing book on all different techniques. I have got a lot of paper patterns that can help me if I run into trouble, but I didn't run into trouble with this one at all. But yeah, I'm by no means selling or advertising this system, and I will go so far as to say I wouldn't recommend it for anybody unless you really want to have a go at kind of drafting your own patterns and get a perfect fit. Now, does it get a perfect fit? That's very much in debate because it does still need some adjusting sometimes. But for me, for this top, it worked. And I really hope you enjoy this video. I do have some other Lutterloh videos out there, probably going back a couple of years where I was really learning the system. Now I know it a bit more and can make something, and it really didn't take me that long to make this up. I'm definitely going to make another one of those, and I hope I've inspired you to do something similar. Thank you for watching, and I will see you all again soon. Bye bye for now.